crack dreams, pipe dreams, whatever you want to call them. Let's just say I have a lot of them when it comes to crossovers, especially the fighting game ones. Shaggy in Mortal Kombat 11, the Camp Trio for Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, and of course, Monokuma and Raz for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Of course, just for shits and giggles, we'll be talking about pipe dreams for Smash today, because I'm always in the mood to try and keep the hype going, especially from all the annoying fake leaks that keep floating around the internet these days. So for today's video, there's 3 things to keep in mind. Number 1, LeopoldtheBrave already made a similar video about pipe dream characters he would like to see for Smash, so I'm not going to put all the characters he mentioned on the list, except for only one. I can add a character from the same franchise he has covered in his video, but not the same exact character. 2. Only 3rd and 4th party characters are a part of this list. Super Smash Bros. Is a Nintendo All-Star fighter, so including a Nintendo character like Birdo or Jill wouldn't be too far-fetched, at least in my opinion. Regardless if a 3rd or 4th party character has connections with Nintendo, in my eyes, they can be considered pipe dreams. Not everyone can consider them pipe dreams, but from my point of view, they could just be pipe dreams that may not ever come to Smash. And 3, I am not including characters like Qbert from Blaze Blue, Monokuma from Danganronpa, and Raz from Psychonauts, as while I consider them pipe dreams, I want to talk about other characters that I want that could be considered crack or quote-unquote joke characters. So without further ado, why don't we have some fun for today and start talking about my top 12 pipe dream characters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Qbert from, well, Qbert. Yep, we're starting off with a classic arcade character. When you take a look at his character design, you'll notice right away as to why he could be considered a pipe dream. He has no arms. Now I know what you might be thinking. What about Piranha Plant or Yoshi, since he barely uses his own hands to fight and just uses his feet and head? Well, Piranha Plant technically does have hands, they just happen to be leaves since, well, it is a plant. And Yoshi, while he doesn't use his hands too much, he does use it to throw his eggs. When it comes to fighting in general, your feet and hands are the most important body parts you need to fight someone. Qbert can possibly kick, but not exactly use his hands because, well, he doesn't have any arms. That's exactly why I want to see him though. I just want to see Sakurai and the team come up with a very unique and creative moveset for this cute little guy, and show that even characters with no arms can become fighters. It'd be super hilarious, but also really badass at the same time. The funny part is, Qbert is owned by Sony. No, not Sony Interactive Entertainment, Sony Pictures Entertainment. There's a difference between the two. Sony Interactive develops games for the PlayStation brand, while Sony Pictures is the side of Sony that creates films like The Karate Kid, Spider-Man, and the real funny part is that, despite being owned by Sony, Qbert has appeared on Nintendo consoles before. So for all the Nintendo consoles only believers, there you go, Qbert might have a chance. Nah, I just find that fact to be pretty interesting. A Sony character that's an arcade icon that'll reunite with other classics like Pac-Man, Ryu, Ken, and Terry? That sounds like a lot of fun. I know he may not have any arms, but it's always nice to think creatively here. Pitfall Harry from Pitfall. Something that I've never noticed in a lot of Smash prediction videos online is that I've never seen anyone talk about any reps for Atari. I can't really blame them though, considering how Atari is not as popular or iconic as they used to be. However, I would honestly love to see an Atari rep make it into Smash, as I feel like even though Atari don't exactly make consoles of their own games anymore, they did help revolutionize the video game industry back in the late 60s and early 70s. Even though one could say that they debatably caused the video game crash of 1983, but that was back then. And even so, it doesn't change the fact that Atari did have some classic games back in the day, like Kaboom, Space Invaders, and of course, Pitfall. Out of all the characters that can represent Atari, I choose Pitfall Harry. While he's not owned by Atari, one can easily associate him with Atari because of his original game on the Atari 2600. Sure, in the original game, all he did was run and jump, but that didn't stop non-fighters like Captain Falcon and Piranha Plant joining the battle. The latest Pitfall game that ever came out was Pitfall: The Lost Expedition on all 6th generation consoles, so Sakurai and the team can easily borrow moves from that game, as Pitfall Harry was capable of doing combat there. He can dodge roll, kick, punch, swing on a vine, wield a torch. There's a lot they can do with Pitfall Harry aside from just running and jumping. Nintendo appearances? No problem. There was Super Pitfall on the NES, despite how crappy that was, Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure on the Super Nintendo, Pitfall 3D on the Game Boy Color, and of course Pitfall: The Lost Expedition on Nintendo GameCube. So basically only 4 Nintendo appearances, so that should be enough for good old Harry. One thing to keep in mind though is that Pitfall is owned by Activision. I know that it's not exactly too important for the character to be recognizable to everyone who plays Smash, but I just doubt that Pitfall Harry can make it in, as I feel like out of all the Activision characters, Crash Bandicoot has the most chance. He's more popular and has more requests than Pitfall Harry. Maybe in the next Smash game he could make it in, but for Smash Ultimate, yeah, I don't think so. He'd be really cool, but for now, he just remains a silly little pipe dream. Claude from Grand Theft Auto 3 or CJ from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Oh boy, it was hard to choose between these two, but you know what? Since I just can't decide on who I want more, they can both be on the list. Then again though, if either of them were to make it into Smash, they would more than likely play the same way. Big ass punches, unique firearms, crowbars, cars. That's basically the typical stuff that you do in all GTA games really, no matter who you are playing as. Claude would be a really cool character to include since he originated from a game that helped shape the video game industry with how revolutionary it was at the time, while CJ would also be a badass addition, coming from debatably one of the most popular GTA games in the world, probably more popular than GTA 5 itself, despite that game selling more copies than San Andreas. Grand Theft Auto being in Smash at first sounded like a no-brainer, since it is an iconic video game franchise, and Smash is starting to become Nintendo All-Stars versus video game icons these days. But at the same time though, GTA isn't exactly that popular in Japan, which doesn't really sound like it's a bad thing since the character doesn't have to be popular in Japan to make it in. But you see, here's the thing. GTA is an extremely violent franchise, to the point where in Japan, it is heavily censored. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the games aside from just the bloody violence that happens when you kill random civilians. So I just don't really know if Nintendo would want that in their game. I could be wrong, I may be wrong. It's not exactly easy to predict who's going to be in the Fighter's Pass, and the only rule we have when it comes to characters in Smash is that they have to be from a video game. And that's it. Nothing else. A GTA character could make it in, but that doesn't exactly mean that they will make it in. You see what I'm saying? Do I think Claude or CJ have the best chance? Nah, not really. But I would love to see them make it in. But of course, because of the whole violence crap, they are nothing more but pipe dreams to me. John Marston or Arthur Morgan from the Red Dead franchise. Yep, I'm going there. I would love to see either of these fabulous cowboys make it into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, no matter how unlikely it may seem. Just the idea of having a realistic cowboy in Smash alone sounds incredibly unique and interesting, at least in my opinion. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 were basically Grand Theft Auto, but if it took place in the Wild West, so that should already give you guys an idea of how they would play in Smash. They wouldn't exactly just use guns and that's it. Since they are both cowboys, Sakurai and the development team can just let them use their lassos, and maybe even have them ride their horses as side special attacks or something. There's a lot they can do with a cowboy character, and out of all the cowboy characters in the video game industry, I say John and Arthur would both be very interesting additions for Smash. Of course though, if we are to go by the Nintendo console's fan rule, and say for the sake of argument that it's an actual rule that Sakurai follows, then unfortunately these two don't have a shot, as Red Dead Redemption 1 was only on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, while the second game came out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. If we don't go by the fan rule, then yeah, I guess I can see either John or Arthur making it in. Most likely Arthur, because Red Dead Redemption 2 sold like crazy when it first came out, which already makes him a video game icon that has the legacy to deserve a spot in Smash, even if the game came out almost 2 years ago. Man, time flies. But look, just imagine the hype that'll destroy the internet once either of these two make it in. I imagine it'd be crazy as hell. Giddy up, partners, because it's time to start hoping for these handsome devils to make it into Nintendo All-Stars. Abe and Stranger from the Oddworld franchise. When it comes to Oddworld, I can see the franchise have characters that can not just be in PlayStation All-Stars, but also Smash Brothers and even an Xbox All-Stars game, since Oddworld has been on Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox for a long time now. Abe and Stranger can both easily make it into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, since Abe's Odyssey was on Game Boy, with its remake being on Nintendo Wii U, while Stranger's Wrath was re-released on the Nintendo Switch almost 2 months ago. The best part? They could be unlike any character that's in Smash if you really think about it. Abe isn't exactly a fighter, but he doesn't have to have any weapons to have a very unique moveset. In Abe's Odyssey, Abe had the ability to control enemies known as slicks, and he would use these slicks to help him fight off enemies and activate mechanisms that Abe couldn't overcome in the original game, before automatically destroying the slick. There's your idea for a potential moveset already. You can even have Abe just pick up random objects and just have him throw it around like in Munch's Odyssey on the original Xbox. If Sakurai can make a plant and a cute little yellow puppy dog be playable, he can do the same for Abe. As for Stranger, oh boy. Stranger is basically a badass bounty hunter that wields a crossbow with ammunition made out of strange little insects and small mammals, and whatever bug or mammal he uses has a different effect on his enemies. So, in a nutshell, Stranger would basically be like a unique mixture of Captain Olimar and Byleth, and just saying that alone makes me want to see an Oddworld character even more. I always have my doubts though, sadly, as it's more than likely that Nintendo's list of characters for Sakurai to choose for Fighters Pass 2 wouldn't exactly feature not as obvious characters like Abe and Stranger. Again, I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. I can't predict Nintendo and Sakurai. I'm just not sure if Abe and Stranger will be able to make it in. Hopefully they do, but to me, compared to characters like Sora, Ryu Hayabusa, and Doomslayer, Abe and Stranger feel more like crack characters at this point. Then again, Stranger's Wrath is now on Switch, so hopefully I am 100% wrong and an Oddworld character does receive its Smash invitation. Tak from Tak and the Power of Juju. Now before you get all confused and take an angry poo-poo noo poo-poo, let me explain. Tak 3 on the Nintendo GameCube was the first ever game in the Tak series I played, and holy crap did I love it. This was before I played Tak 2, which I also enjoyed. When I first watched the trailer for the game while I was playing SpongeBob Lights Camera Pans on my Nintendo GameCube, I knew I had to get the game. Its world, its interesting looking characters, the visuals, I was determined that it would be a good game. And, well, yeah, they delivered. To this day, I find it to be a great platformer. While the Tak series hasn't exactly aged the best gameplay-wise, I still really love the characters and the world they live in. So much so that I would actually love to see Tak duke it out with Mario and pals. In the games, Tak usually wields a staff, while also performing the powers of a Juju, who are powerful magical beings in the Tak universe, so a staff user with magical capabilities from a platforming franchise in Smash would be a very interesting and badass addition in my opinion. But wait a minute, says the viewer, if Tak is a video game character with Nintendo appearances and crap like that, then what's the problem? Well, for people who have never played the Tak games but has heard of them, did you know that he's owned by Nickelodeon? Yeah. The SpongeBob game I mentioned a few seconds ago should have been a clue as to who owns the Tak property. Once again, I don't exactly know how Sakurai chooses characters and what goes on in his head when selecting fighters, but I'm still going to predict that Tak seriously doesn't have a chance at all. Nickelodeon of Japan has closed down almost 11 years ago, and the Tak games were never released in Japan, as well as the TV show, even though it was a Nicktoon. It's a strong possibility that none of the developers at Nintendo of Japan don't even know who Tak is. So, yeah, long story short, as much as I think a third-party Nickelodeon character would be a very interesting Smash addition, I say Sora has more of a shot to join. Sorry, Tak, but it seems like you and the Pupununu people are gonna have to wait until Mr. Sakurai starts noticing you. Also, Pupununu pupil? I meant people. What the Glover from Glover on the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1. I would say the Glover series, since Glover 2's ROM has been on the internet for a long time now, but Glover 2 was a cancelled game that was only 85% complete or something, so it's best to just say Glover from, well, Glover. Glover is basically a magical four-fingered glove that can walk on two fingers, but he can also float as well whenever he wants to pick up little toy balls. Trust me, it makes sense in context. Just play the game. To you guys, Glover may sound like a character that has less of a chance to make it in than Qbert, and he doesn't even have any arms. So why do I want Glover in Smash? It's simple. I believe that no matter what kind of character it is, as long as it's a character from Nintendo or a character owned by a third-party company, and it doesn't look over the top violent or disturbing like some sort of adults-only rated game, then any character can work in Smash, as long as Sakurai is creative enough to make these characters join the roster. Now, think about it for a sec. We have a 13-year-old boy with psychic powers that he doesn't really use in his own game like PK Fire, a dog teaming up with a duck, a cute little yellow dog, and a freaking potted plant with leaves as hands. And yet they are all playable characters. If they can be in Smash, despite how simple they sound and look, then Glover can be an easy fit to the Smash roster. Especially since, well, he's a glove, so stuff like proportions and textures for a 3D human model won't really take a lot of time since you're making a glove, for God's sake. Then again, I'm not a game developer, so who knows if Glover will still be very hard to develop for a 2.5D fighter. Point is though, despite being a glove, I believe Glover would have a very interesting moveset. Glover can use the toy balls from the original game and throw it at his opponents as a side special attack, and maybe even do a little ground pound and make it look like some sort of bitch slap to the ground, and have that be his down smash. Since he is a walking glove, Sakurai can even have Glover do some little punches and kicks with his fingers. Well, since he's a glove, I can't really call them hands or feet, so since, you know, it's a goddamn glove. The internet would go bonkers for this unexpected inclusion, and I would love every second of it. The PS1 port of Glover was an absolute mess, so Glover, you're better off joining Smash rather than PlayStation All-Stars 2. Prepare for the apocalypse because on this list we have Vault Boy from the Fallout series. I know. It's a very silly and stupid choice of mine, I know. But remember, these characters are nothing more but pipe dreams to me. And besides, even if it's a silly idea, I don't really see the problem with it, even if it sounds unlikely. Now, when it comes to a Bethesda rep for Smash, most people would like to see the Doomslayer, myself included. But you know what? This may never happen, but why not have 2 Bethesda reps? Doomslayer from Doom, and of course, Vault Boy from Fallout. I know that Fallout is more famous on PlayStation and Xbox, but at the same time, Persona 5 is more well known on PlayStation, but yet Joker made it into Smash, with the addition of him having a spin-off game on the Nintendo 3DS. Fallout is basically like Persona in that way, more popular on PlayStation and Xbox, but it did have games on Nintendo before, and since Vault Boy is the mascot of the series, he of course appeared on these titles. Vault Boy is such a goofy and cartoony character that, out of context, you wouldn't even know if Doom and Fallout were made by the same developer, assuming if you have never watched gameplay footage of Fallout before. Despite how cartoony Vault Boy is, Fallout is a very realistic looking game outside of the Vault Boy cutscenes, with all the games taking place in a post-apocalyptic Earth. Think of it like Adventure Time crossing over with a less violent Doom, before Adventure Time and the Doom reboot were both a thing. Vault Boy as a character was based off of old classic cartoon shorts that helped educated soldiers on how to survive during a war, so of course, a moveset for Vault Boy would be very easy to make. He can use a variety of gadgets, as like he is presenting to the players on how to fight in Smash or something, which I think would be absolutely hilarious, but also really damn cool. Since Smash is a game catered to younger gamers and not just teens and adults, imagine the reactions of these gamers once they see Vault Boy join the battle. He's all cute looking and innocent and acts like a cartoon character, but then they start trying a Fallout game for the first time and they're like, oh, whoops, my bad. I don't know, I just think that'd be hilarious and an interesting way to help advertise any future Fallout games. Fallout may be more iconic on PlayStation and Xbox, but wouldn't hurt to give Vault Boy his chance to shine in the battlefield, right? Just hear me out on this one. KO from OKKO and Steven from Steven Universe. If it helps you guys feel any better, don't worry, these are the only fourth party characters on this entire list. Now, right off the bat, we already know that these two will never make it into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, no matter how many times they have appeared in video games. Movie and TV show characters are strongly not allowed in Smash. Characters from video games that are book adaptations like The Witcher, however, at the moment it's kinda debatable, as we don't exactly have a clue as to whether or not Sakurai still accepts them as video game characters. And while yes, GoldenEye 007 did have representation in Smash 64 and Melee, but that was 3 to 4 games ago, and that was back when Rare had the license to make a game based off of a James Bond movie. We may never know exactly why Sakurai included content from the game back in 64 and Melee, but just remember that that was a long time ago, and he never considered fourth-party characters in the first place, despite all the rumors saying that Sakurai once considered James Bond for Melee. Trust me, he never did, at all, and he'll never consider KO and Steven, I'll tell you that. I don't even think he knows who they are. Then again, he knows who Iron Man and SpongeBob are, so what the hell do I know? Out of all the fourth-party characters I would love to see in Smash, no matter how unlikely they are, it's really hard to choose between KO and Steven, so both of them get to be on the list. Goku would be a really cool addition to Smash, but I honestly prefer to see either of these two. KO comes from a show that's basically video game references the cartoon. There's so many references to classic games like Pokemon, Pac-Man, Street Fighter, Mario, Chrono Trigger, etc. There was even an episode where Sonic the Hedgehog was a guest star. I just think it would be really badass and cute to have KO and Sonic reunite with one another. I feel like they deserve it, basically. But that's not gonna happen anytime soon, so yeah. As for Steven, oh boy. Steven Universe is actually one of my favorite shows of all time. So if Steven ever got into Smash, or just an actual good Cartoon Network Smash Bros. Clone, I'd pretty much fanboy like crazy. Much like OKKO, Steven Universe also makes various references to video games, and hell, the backgrounds of the show were inspired by games like Kirby and Yoshi's Island. So if it wasn't for Nintendo, Steven Universe wouldn't be as beautiful looking as it is today. Despite both being cartoon characters, they feel like characters that can easily fit Smash, and probably not feel out of place, especially KO since he basically looks like a cartoony chibi version of Ryu, who's already in Smash. Both of these characters would provide huge variety of moves that'll make them very unique to Smash, like Steven's gem powers and KO's ability to summon TKO and fuse with him to become PKO. Trust me, it makes sense in context. There's so much Sakurai can do with these two besides just looking like regular boys like Ness and Lucas. These two will obviously never make it into Smash, since they are both cartoon characters, and sure, they did have appearances on Nintendo, but that doesn't really excuse it if you're a cartoon character. OKKO and Steven Universe representation in Smash would be really cool, but at the same time, it's probably for the best that they don't have a shot. They're probably better off being in a Cartoon Network Smash Brothers at this point, and what I mean by that, I mean an amazing sequel to a mediocre Smash clone that really needed some polish. Hopefully that becomes a reality, but who knows, I doubt it. Blinx the Time Sweeper. I know. But Pitrox, Blinx was a failed mascot for the Xbox, and his games were not as well received as Mario and Sonic, so why the hell do you want him in Smash so bad? Well, basically the same reason why I want to see all the third-party characters mentioned on my top 17 DLC fighters list. Because I love these characters to death, and I believe that they would be really cool additions for Smash, Blinx especially. We do have Microsoft representation in the form of Banjo-Kazooie, but they were Nintendo All-Stars before Rare was bought by Microsoft, so they're basically Xbox All-Stars with a little bit of Nintendo history here and there. Blinx, on the other hand, was basically Microsoft's failed attempt at making a cute platforming mascot for the Xbox. It's a shame though, as I heard that Blinx the Time Sweeper was actually a really good game, despite its clunky controls, and while Blinx 2 wasn't as popular as the first one, I still heard that it was decent at best. And of course, when discussing Blinx, you have to talk about the fact that the Blinx trademark had been dropped by Microsoft since 2015. While yes, it is true that Microsoft has dropped the trademark, that doesn't really mean Microsoft no longer owns the Blinx property. They control the rights to Blinx, but legal issues are preventing a Blinx 3 from happening anytime soon. So yeah, Blinx the Time Sweeper. He ain't joining Smash anytime soon, that's for sure. Blinx was surprisingly popular in Japan when his game first came out, but that popularity didn't last very long. He was the Microsoft character that made people in Japan want to buy the Xbox, so that's worth noting at least. With Super Smash Bros. Ultimate having iconic third-party mascots and icons like Sonic, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Ryu, Joker, and Terry Bogard, I feel like characters like Blinx deserved a chance to shine, regardless on what you think of his games. Blinx the Time Sweeper as a whole had the potential to be a very interesting and unique IP. It just wasn't handled very well by Microsoft, which is a shame. With Blinx's ability to control time, he would have been like a cat version of Bayonetta, except, not as overpowered, which I would have loved. But, of course, that's just nothing but a pipe dream. Blinx, I love you, man, but god damn it, you really deserve better. Okay, for number 2, I know I might be repeating myself over and over again when I say that this character might sound incredibly stupid for Smash, but please hear me out for this one.
A few stretched necks are a small price to pay for our ideals.
Big Daddy from BioShock. Yep, that's it. I'm really going there. I legit want to see a Bioshock character make it into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Big Daddy is basically on the same level of cracked dreams as Keiho and Steven Universe. When you think of Bioshock, do you think Nintendo? No, you don't, right? Because Bioshock never had connections to Nintendo at all. Oh boy, okay. Before I continue talking about Big Daddy, I just want to let you guys know that at the time I recorded my thoughts on Big Daddy being in Smash, Bioshock wasn't revealed to be coming to the Nintendo Switch yet, so some of the stuff I'm going to say after this will just be nothing but outdated information back when Bioshock on Switch was nothing but a rumor. Now that Big Daddy has connections with Nintendo, does that mean he'll be coming to Smash? Hell no! A Nintendo connection may sound like he's possible, but that doesn't mean that he's really coming to Smash, or he's incredibly possible. This was announced on the recent Nintendo Direct Mini that happened 2 days ago, so I think it's safe to assume that Bioshock came to Switch way too late during the planning stages of Fighters Pass 2. I'm glad that one of my favorite first-person shooter games is now on Nintendo, but I'm not going to get my hopes up here. No spin-off, no cameos, nothing. Unless you want to count that reference to the Big Daddies in the Nintendo Switch port of NBA Playground 2, which, yeah, that's one Nintendo connection, but barely. Come on guys, now that's just taking this role too far. I know that there are rumors going around that the Bioshock collection will come to Switch, but it's just that, a rumor. There could be some evidence to back up the rumor, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind that just because a rumor has evidence behind it, that doesn't really mean that it's actually legit. It just means that it may or may not be true at all. And besides, with how violent and chaotic Bioshock is, would Nintendo really want to include Big Daddy? Think about it. I know that he's playable in PlayStation All-Stars, but that game was rated T and not E10+, since some of the stuff that happens in the game isn't exactly quote-unquote kid-friendly-ish. Now, Big Daddy wasn't all too violent in PlayStation All-Stars, but you have to keep in mind that just because a character from a violent franchise appeared in a less mature rated fighting game, that doesn't exactly mean that Nintendo would want to include Big Daddy, as it's more than likely that any character from PlayStation All-Stars will play differently if they were to make it into Smash Ultimate, since Smash and PlayStation All-Stars play differently despite being similar games. When Dante and Heihachi have more of a chance to be in Smash than Big Daddy, then you know there's something wrong here. Now, look, I just recently played the first Bioshock. It's fantastic, and I'm not afraid to immediately call it one of my favorite horror FPS games of all time. And with how cool, iconic, and recognizable the Big Daddies and Little Sisters are, I would fanboy like hell if they were to make it into Smash. Big Daddy being in the same game as Spike, Parappa, and Sackboy was crazy enough, but him in the same game as Mario, Pikachu, and Kirby? The internet will go bonkers when that happens, I'll tell you that. Big Daddy would basically be like if Bowser and King K. Rool both had the ability to use Atom, which is basically a chemical substance in the Bioshock franchise that allows your body to use any elemental powers like fire, ice, telekinesis, or lightning. There's a lot Sakurai can do with Big Daddy that I believe that if you were to make it into Smash, the representation of his games and his moveset would be phenomenal. Booker from Bioshock Infinite would be a cool character to join Smash, but I would honestly prefer the Big Daddy, as I find him more badass and interesting. Now, if you don't mind, Nintendo, would you kindly consider Big Daddy? Andrew Ryan would be so proud if he ever makes it in. In honor of Rapture. Okay, as usual, before we get to number 1, I would like to make a few honorable mentions. These are characters that would have made it into the list if this was a top 15 and not a top 12. So, let's get started. Pete, the main character from Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon has been on Nintendo multiple times before, and it's more recognizable on Nintendo platforms rather than on PlayStation at this point. So a Harvest Moon character sounds possible, right? Well, imagine if Pete gets announced and people are like this. Ugh, another Japanese character on my crossover fighter made in Japan? You had Sora, Dante, Master Chief, Travis Touchdown, and Gino, and you choose a character from a game that no one cares for? Shame on you!
Who the fuck wants to play as the farmer? Ugh, another anime sword fighter.
Wait, the fuck? Pete's not even a... You know what? Never mind. It sounds like a really weird pick, I know, but I think a farmer character would be very interesting. I know we have Villager who kind of farms in his games, but in his moveset, he just grows a tree and cuts it off. That's really the only reference to farming there. Kind of. Well, except for the cutting trees thing, but whatever. Pete would be like a rival to the Villager, and I just think that'd be hilarious. Any character from Hot Shots Golf. Sounds like a huge pipe dream, right? This is a Sony franchise, so that's strike one. Hot Shots Golf isn't as popular as other Sony properties like God of War and The Last of Us, that's strike two. And since it's called Hot Shots Golf, all you do is just play golf on your PlayStation. And that's it, so kind of strike three. Like I said, I believe any video game character has the potential to be a very interesting and unique fighter, if Sakurai and the team think creatively, and a Hot Shots Golf character is no exception. Personally, out of all the characters, I would love to see either Mel, since he's kind of the mascot of the series here in America, or Falcon, since he's my main in Hot Shots Golf 4. Now I know what you might be thinking. If you want a golfer character, why not Plum from Mario Golf? She would be pretty cool, but I want to see Hot Shots Golf more, since it has a lot of unique characters to choose from, and if a Hot Shots Golf character were to make it in to Smash, then we would basically have matches like Mario Golf versus Hot Shots Golf, a classic case of the Nintendo versus PlayStation pipe dream. Now for our last honorable mention, please hear me out on this one, the Mario from Hotel Mario on the Philips CDI.
This is a joke, right?
In a way, yes, my beautiful viewer, it is. But at the same time, not really. Just hear me out. I know that Hotel Mario is infamous for its hilariously terrible cutscenes, repetitive and clunky gameplay, and animation so awkward you could have sworn that it was just a low-budget Sesame Street game on PC that just happens to feature Mario characters. But I still want to see Hotel Mario make it to Smash. When you think about it, Hotel Mario would be one of the most unique additions to the Smash roster. You think Gino would make a very interesting character? He absolutely would, but Hotel Mario would also be very unique. Why am I saying this? Because of the history behind the character. This Mario is the only Nintendo character in history, as far as I know, that has never appeared on a Nintendo platform, as the game he comes from is CDI exclusive. This sounds incredibly stupid and silly, but we really don't have any Nintendo characters in Smash that have never appeared on any Nintendo platforms. Hell, even Rob appeared on Nintendo platforms, and he was just a toy that Nintendo made back in the 80s. People would be like, you have to be on Nintendo platforms to be in Smash. Which is fine, I can't really blame them for thinking that. But what about Nintendo characters that actually never had a game on Nintendo at all? So, in a nutshell, I want Hotel Mario in Smash, not just for the silly memes, but also because of the history behind his game, and also the fact that he would basically be a Mario that wouldn't be an exact clone of the regular Mario, as he could just throw toast and do some little jumps that could damage an opponent, and just, I don't know, maybe have his dance animations from the game be his taunts, just, I don't know. I love me some joke characters, and Hotel Mario, in my opinion, would absolutely fit into the Smash universe. And now that we are done with the honorable mentions, let's get to number one. Whether or not you consider the number one spot to be less of a cracked dream compared to all the other characters on this list, that's all subjective. So don't try to keep your hopes up too much here if this is nowhere near as crazy or random as the other characters. The number one pipe dream character that I want in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is any Sony character that was playable in PlayStation All-Stars. Cat and Dusty, Emmett Graves, Kratos, Parappa the Rapper, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Spike, Sir Daniel, Sweet Tooth, Colonel Raddick, Nathan Drake, Sackboy, Cole, Nariko. There's a lot I want to say on each character and their potential for Smash. It is not even funny. But we will be here all day, so let's just move on. I get it. I seriously get it. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a Nintendo All-Star fighter, with all of its third-party characters having some sort of connection to Nintendo, so a Sony character would never exactly fit, as one might say. I seriously understand that. It's a stupid dream of mine, and I'm probably going to be considered really dumb for wanting a Sony character in Smash, since this is the internet after all, but god damn it, I think a Sony character would be really badass. Yes, there could be a PlayStation All-Stars too, which I would love like hell, but I want to see a Sony character, because I just think that the idea of a Nintendo All-Stars going up against a PlayStation character would be really sick. It'd be like a video game fanboy's dream come true. Nintendo versus PlayStation versus Xbox. This was an idea I've wanted to see for a long time now, so having a Sony character be in the same game as Mario and Banjo would make me fanboy like crazy. I know that Nintendo has a lot of creative and unique universes and characters, but I feel like Sony does as well. They may not be as colorful or silly as Nintendo's characters, but that's what makes the idea of a Sony character being in Smash so charming to me. Sure, Sony does have its fair share of silly and cartoony universes like Sly Cooper, Little Big Planet, and others, but most of their first-party titles are usually more realistic-looking games like God of War and Uncharted. And when thinking about the idea of Kratos going up against Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog, it just makes me want a Sony character in Smash so bad. Does it need to happen? No. But do I want it to happen? Absolutely. A Nintendo versus PlayStation game was always something that I've wanted to see for a long time now. So if a Sony character were to ever get in, it'd be the closest I'll ever get to having Nintendo All-Stars versus PlayStation All-Stars. Any character from Sony that gets in, I'll be really happy, regardless on whether or not I have played their games. Out of all the Sony characters I would love to see though, it's really hard for me to choose honestly, but I'll try. The Sony characters I would love to see the most are Ratchet & Clank, Sly Cooper, Spike, Jak and Daxter, and my boy, Parappa the Rapper, who was my main in PlayStation All-Stars. If either of them were to get in, I'd fanboy like crazy, but if any other Sony character gets in, I'll be just fine with that. At this point, the console wars are basically over. Of course, there will always be competition, which is a good thing since you can't have a business without competition. But console wars? I think I'm glad to say that it's all over. We are living in a world where Microsoft, the creator of the Xbox, is credited in a Nintendo game. Now it's Sony's time to shine. Nintendo and Sony have been rivals for years now, and to this day they still kinda are. And I just think it'd be really cool to have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate celebrate this 25-year-old rivalry with the addition of a Sony character. I believe any rival of Nintendo deserves to be celebrated in Smash, especially Sony. Like I said multiple times, Super Smash Bros. Has basically become Nintendo All-Stars versus video game icons. So with a Sony character, Smash will just become Nintendo All-Stars versus the kings of video games. And that idea alone sounds incredibly exciting, and I wish it'll happen, but it might not happen. It may sound incredibly stupid for me to have a pipe dream like this, but I just want to see Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft come together and collaborate in the best-selling fighting game of all time. It'll be a dream come true, and that is why a Sony character from PlayStation All-Stars is my number one pipe dream character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Oh boy, and with that, we are officially done with this list. It was honestly really hard coming up with pipe dream characters since there's a lot of crazy and silly characters that would be really cool for Smash, but may never get in. Who knows? Now remember, just because I think a character doesn't have a chance, that doesn't mean that I'm saying it like it's absolutely true. I consider them pipe dreams, yes, but they are only pipe dreams in my own head and my own thoughts alone, and not everyone else. I can consider Pitfall Harry a pipe dream, but someone else might not. Whether the character can be considered a pipe dream or not, with the exception of fourth party characters, that's all subjective, really. So, in my opinion, these characters may or may not have a shot. Even if a character seems really unlikely to join Smash, they may actually still have a shot. So, you never know. I'm not Sakurai, and I'm not part of the Smash development team, so what I say here may or may not be true. It's nothing but pure speculation, okay? So, just because a character seems incredibly unlikely, that doesn't exactly mean that they'll never come to Smash. But it's always important to never get your hopes up and set yourself up with huge disappointment. You can be happy, you can be disappointed, but never try to argue with someone about a fictional character that someone might want in a crossover fighter. Because at the end of the day, that's their dream character, and they're human just like us, okay? And if you don't want that character, please don't try to ruin their day by being a dick. Don't try to make it be only about yourself. Please? Come on. Then again, this is the internet I'm talking about, so I guess what I'm saying means absolutely nothing at this point. Whatever. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this list, and I hope that you guys are looking forward to any future Smash related videos, like probably a video on PlayStation All-Stars 2 or something, who knows. Smash is a really fun and interesting topic for me to talk about on my channel, and I'm really glad that I'm talking about it with you guys. If you guys have any ideas on how I should make a video on PlayStation or Xbox All-Stars, you could just leave a comment down below, and I'll be glad to take a look. This is PitRocks, signing out, and I'll see you guys next time.